Allison and Bob Hensler, driven by Bob Harper. Number 2 is Evere, owned by Kathy Zingarelli, and the driver is Mike Wilder. 3 is Kumba, owned by Richard Bunting with David Miller. 4, Pride Cochran, owned by Johnson Hill Jr. with Randy Tharps. 5, Tucker, owned by Stephen Watkins, driven by Roy Burns. 6, Acers Pacer, owned by Frank Consiglio, driver change to Brad Hanners. 7, French Regency, owned by driver Dan Korfman and Charles Korfman. 8, Bam, She's Out, owned by Charles Park with Jack Daly. 9, Two Moons, leased by Robert McCurdy with Gary DeBoard. And 10 is Halcyon's Prelude, owned by Vicky Ladar. Jody Essig will be in the sulky. 6 minutes till post time. And there they go. They're off and pacing. Little Red Like Carey and Kumba are out for the lead. In between horses, Evere to third. Halcyon's Prelude fourth with a rush on the far outside. Two Moons to fifth. Middle of the racetrack, French Regency. After that, it's Pride Cochran. Followed by Acers Pacer. Tucker on the outside. Ninth, Bam, She's Out in 10th. They're on their way to the quarter-mile pole from the outside. Two Moons gets the lead. Two Moons on top by 2. Racing second, Kumba. Quick 27-4. Racing past the stands to the half-mile pole. Up top, it's Two Moons. Kumba, though, is going to come right back to her. Kumba on the outside of Two Moons. Back in the third to Chestnut. Little Red Like Carey. Followed by Evere in fourth. Halcyon's Prelude is next. Ranging up on the outside, Pride Cochran along the rail, French Regency. Acers Pacers now set sail from the back. Tucker is ninth. 10th on the outside, Bam, She's Out. 58 flat, they straighten out for their long trek down the backstretch. Kumba continues to lead the way. Here is Little Red Like Carey driving up on the outside second, followed by Two Moons in third, followed by Evere, live cover to fourth, along the rail, Halcyon's Prelude. Here's Pride Cochran trying to go on, gapping cover. Along the rail, French Regency, up on the extreme outside, Acers Pacer begins to roll. Moving into three quarters, Kumba is there in 128. Around the far turn, Kumba, Little Red Like Carey, far outside Evere, alongside of her. Acers Pacer looking for racing room. Two Moons, this one is absolutely wide open as the field straightens away. Kumba brings them on home. Acers Pacer is up on the extreme outside. In between horses, Two Moons has jumped off stride. It's going to be Kumba. Acers Pacer coming on second, 7 French Regency third. Here comes the unofficial winner of the first, number 3, Kumba. 5-year-old bay mare by Nuke's Image out of Radiant Cash, owned in Grove City by Richard Bunting, trained by Mr. Randy Owens. Driven tonight by David Miller to cover the mile here in 157-4. 3, Kumba, the unofficial winner. Result of the first is now official. Windows are now put on tonight's second race. Second race, a $38,700 Tompkin Gear Stake for 3-year-old trotting fillies, sponsored by our friends at Sierra Brokerage Services. Post for each horse alongside the driver's names. Post time will be 7:55. First race exacted 2:19.60 and the try 17:22.20. Here's the field for race 2, Tompkin Gear Stakes for 3-year-old trotting fillies. The purse $38,700. Sponsored by Sierra Brokerage Services in the Robert Key entry, 1 Sassy Winner K and David Miller. Entry mate American Jew Dean with Brad Hanners. 2, Red Oaks Beauty, owned by George A., driven by Charlie Norris. 3 is CC Me, owned by Flowing Mineral Farm with Charles Myrick. 4, Lucky Marge, owned by Richard Householder. Dave Hawk will be aboard. 5, Marinera, owned by TD and Linda Van Camp with Jeff Fout. 6, Any Man O' Mine, owned by Ken Miller and Howard Clore with Chip Noble. 7, Lassie's Goal, owned by Rompaway Farms and Waldo Frankenstein, driven by Frank O'Mara. Number 8 is Meadow Branch Mary, owned by the Doug Ackerman Stable with D.R. Ackerman. And number 9, Miss Wall Street, owned by the Shapira Racing Stable Incorporated. Chris Boring will be in the sulky. 6 minutes till post time. Starting gate is underway. And there they go. They're off and trotting. CC Me between horses takes the lead. Lucky Marge alongside. Red Oak's Beauty along the rail. They're down the back stretch. Any Man o' Mine trotting up on the outside, fourth. Followed by Sassy Winner K to fifth. Ranging up on the outside, Lassie's Goal, six coming on between horses. Marinera seventh. 3 wide on the far outside. Meadow Branch Mary is into eighth. Trotting ninth, Miss Wall Street, and at the end, it's American Judine. They open up here in 29 3/5. 10 trotters in parade are already double-deckered as they move past the stands from the outside. Any Man o' Mine, 30 to 1 shot now, gets the lead. With a rush on the outside, Lassie's Goal goes right on. Lassie's Goal quickly takes over by 2. Marinera's on the attack from second along the rail. Any Man o' Mine is into third. Lucky Marge is fourth. As they hit the half-mile pole, CC Me still on the outside. Meadow Branch Mary underway. Red Oak's Beauty. The entries quickly drop back. American Judine and Sassy Winner K on the outside. Miss Wall Street. They're at the half in 58-1. Big move though for Frank O'Mara. Gets the lead. Draws off by 3 with Lassie's Goal. Lassie's Goal. Marinera now saving ground in the second. The 6 is off stride. Any Man o' Mine as they trot to 3/4. Lassie's Goal trying to sting him with a huge backstretch move, continues to lead the way. 126-4. Blistering middle half. Kenshi last on the front end. Deep stretch. Now it's Lassie's Goal on top, followed by Marinera in second. Big Mile on the outside for Meadow Branch Mary third. As the field straightens away, Lassie's Goal brings them on home, followed by Marinera. Meadow Branch Mary is up on the outside. Deep stretch, it's Lassie's Goal. Here's Meadow Branch Mary coming on second. Looks like Marinera might hold on third over Red Oak's Beauty. Here comes the new track record holder here at Scioto Downs for 3-year-old trotting fillies. Winner number 7, Lassie's Goal, a 3-year-old bay filly by Armbro Goal out of Missy Had a Gal, owned by Rompaway Farms and Waldo Frankenstein of Michigan, trained and trained by Frank O'Mara to cover the mile here in 1:56.1, beating the old record set last year by Charlie Murrick and Flowing Jody of 1:56.4. Establishing a new track record tonight in the process. The unofficial winner is number 7, Lassie's Goal. Jeff and Susan Richardson, Chris McCamey, and Jim Trowbridge. Seven eight exacta 112.20. The try 320.80. 3-7 daily double $61 even. Here's the rundown. Sassy Winner K was 6th. American Judine 7th. Red Oak's Beauty 4th. CC Me was 8th. Lucky Marge 9th. Marinera 3rd. Any Man o' Mine was 10th. Lassie's Goal the winner. Meadow Branch Mary 2nd. Miss Wall Street was 5th. 6-7-4. 8-9. Here comes the field for tonight's third race, sponsored by Delaware Knights of Columbus Council 1056. Number 1, Brian's Little Girl, owned by Bonnie Kleinman, driven by Tom Lovely. Number 2, Snoop Loggy Log, owned by the Quick Trick Stable and Virgil Morgan Jr. with David Miller. 3, Go Kathy Go, has been scratched by the judges. Number 4, Scooter Shadow, owned by Tabitha Campbell. Chip Noble will be aboard. 5 is My Quota, owned by Clarence DeLong. Dave Hawk will be in the bike. 6, Towner's Tootsie, owned by Jeff Gibson with Greg Luther. 7 is Look Annie, owned by James Mershot with Mike Wilder. 8 is Sold on You, owned by Tim Mensch and Marcia Overmeyer, driven by Brad Hanners. And here's the 9, Cactus Sand, owned by Tony Clark and Tom Tharps. Randy Tharps will be in the sulky. 5 minutes till post time, and field is now in motion. And there they go. They're off and pacing. The favorite is off stride. Snoop Loggy Log is on a break, and there goes Cactus Sand on the far outside to get the lead. Along the rail, Brian's Little Girl moves into me second, followed in third by Scooter Shadow. They're down the backstretch. My Quota, late lever tonight, showing some gate speed. Sold on You. Towner's Tootsie, Look Any, and far back Snoop Loggy Log as the field moves to the quarter-mile pole, and Cactus Sand overcame the 9-hole in 2 steps. Drives away 28-2. Racing past the stands to the half-mile pole. Up top, Cactus Sand leads away. Cactus Sand by an easy length and a half. Brian's Little Girl stalking in second. Past the stands, that's Scooter Shadow in third. My Quota here, Sold on You. She's got some live cover now. Towner's Tootsie is up on the outside. Look Any and Snoop Loggy Log is far back. They're at the half-mile pole, and we're down to 7. Cactus Sand leads the way. Scooter Shadow's up on the outside. 59-2. They're out of the turn and down the back stretch. 7 are hub to hub. 3 parts of a length for the every step. Pace setter Cactus Sand. Cactus Sand trying to make every polo when he won. Scooter Shadow eyes are up on the outside second. Brian's Little Girl third. Sold on You much closer tonight than she usually is in fourth. Followed by My Quota after that. Look Any. Far outside Towner's Tootsie. As the field drives into 3/4. Cactus Sand is there in 128-3. Moving around the far turn, Cactus Sand by a half. Scooter Shadow still attacking in second. Sold on You, ready to slingshot. 3 wide off cover from third. Brian's Little Girl fourth. There's 7 wide in the drive. It's Cactus Sand who brings them on home. Sold on You coming down the middle of the racetrack, followed by Scooter Shadow. Deep stretch, it's Cactus Sand, Sold on You. Cactus Sand, Sold on You, very tight for third. 5, My Quota, in 4, Scooter Shadow. 4-year-old bay mare by Towner's Big God of Mudge's Pebbles, owned by Tony Clark and Tom Tharps of Wilmington and Lebanon. Reign and train wire to wire by Randy Tharps. Driving them out here in 158-1-9, Cactus and the winner. Number 8, Sold on You, second. 5, My Quota, third. 4, Scooter Shadow, fourth. Our friends tonight from the Delaware Knights of Columbus Council 1056. Older gals, a $10,000 purse. Trophy by Seal Wright. Number 1 is Nina Sam's Civil Suit for Justin Hall. 2, Crest Farm, Steph Crest. Dave Hawk will drive. Number 3, Jim Stambaugh's Perfect Gesture in Del S. Miller. 4, Howard and Doris Armstrong's Ideal Gigi. Jody Essig will be aboard. 5 is Dan Russo and Robert Parker's Illegally Parked for David Miller, who will be in the sulky. 6 minutes till post time. Field 4, race 4 at the gate and moving through the turn. Field is now in motion, and there they go. They're off and pacing. Civil Suit takes the lead. Steph Crest between horses, Illegally Parked with a rush on the far outside. Coming on between horses early on, Ideal Gigi and Perfect Gesture as they move through the first turn. Here comes Ideal Gigi up on the outside of the early pace setter, Civil Suit. Some early night hard ball in here. Going to be a good opening quarter, with Ideal Gigi on the outside getting starched here, 26-4. Quickly past the stands. Ideal Gigi draws off by 2. Civil Suit, who stung her pretty good, will accept her cover from second. Steph Crest, Perfect Gesture, and Illegally Parked. Around the clubhouse turn of the half-mile pole. Ideal Gigi continues to lead the way by an easy length and a half. Civil Suit stalking second, prompting from third, Steph Crest. Perfect Gesture trying to refine her game, swings up on the outside, and Illegally Parked rides the tailgate 55-1. Speeding past the 5/8. Ideal Gigi leads the way. The outer tier quickly forms. Here comes Perfect Gesture on the outside. Illegally Parked moving with live cover. Civil Suit got stopped along the rail, and Steph Crest will now come from the back of the pack. Racing to 3/4 in a sharp 1:23.3. Quickly on the far turn. Perfect Gesture on top. Here's Illegally Parked up on the outside. Civil Suit coming back between horses. Ideal Gigi and Steph Crest, they're into the stretch. Del S. Miller brings them on home with Perfect Gesture. Illegally Parked on the outside, looking her right in the eye. Perfect Gesture and Illegally Parked. 2 wide here, and Perfect Gesture may have held 1:52.4. I'd like to welcome our friends tonight from Seal Right, who are in the winner's circle to meet and greet the winner of tonight's 4th race, 3, Perfect Gesture, who got a great lifetime best there of 1:52.4. Perfect Gesture, a 5-year-old bay mare by Beachtel out of Token Gesture, owned in Wauseon, Ohio by Jim Stambaugh. Trained by Jim Arledge Jr. to cover the mile here for Del S. Miller in a lifetime best 1:52.4. 3, Perfect Gesture, the winner of tonight's Seal Right pace. Top down, 3-4-1-5-2. The exact to 33.20. Windows are now open on race 5. Wish Fred Rake a happy birthday. Happy birthday, Fred Rake. Here comes the field for the 5th as this all filly and mare program continues. Number 1, Watchin' Over Me, owned by Charles Autry, driven by Brad Hanners. Number 2, Carbohydrate, owned by Ann Hildebrand with Jody Essig. 3, Katarina Wick, owned by driver Mark Klotz, along with Dave Bassler. 4, Chatelaine Hanover, owned by Walter Beaver, and driver is Mike Wilder. 5, Alert Kayla, owned by George Smith. Darren Melzer will be in the bike. 6 More Cheers, owned by Michael Grant and Ralph Lunsford Jr. Ralph will drive. 7, Matata, owned by Arlene Baker and Ronald Sheesler with David Miller. 8 is Steady Dare, owned by Rita Studzinski and Jim Daly. Number 9 is Eden Eyes, owned by Ralph Sexton and Francis Thomas with Dave Hawk. 10, Rocket to Heaven, owned by William Monier, and along with Paul Wagner, Randy Tharps will be in the sulky. 6 minutes till post time. 5 is at the gate. Field is now in motion. And there they go. They're off and pacing. Moving out from between horses to take the lead. Chatelaine Hanover. Here comes Matata on the far outside to get the lead. Watching Over Me moves going to be 3rd, followed by Carbohydrate in 4th. Racing 5th, Katarina Wick. Out of the 2nd tier, Rocket to Heaven, Alert Kayla. After that, it's More Cheers, Steady Dare, and Eden Eyes as they race by the opening quarter-mile pole in 27-2. Speeding past the stands to the half-mile pole. Matata leads away by an easy length and a half, and Chatelaine Hanover 2nd. Watching Over Me tried to brush. She's now been taken off the pace and has once again settled in there 3rd. Followed by Carbohydrate 4th. Katarina Wick skating along in 5th. A gap of 5 lengths to Rocket to Heaven. Moving up on the outside, Alert Kayla. More Cheers will also tip and roll. After that comes Steady Dare and Eden Eyes in 57 and 2. They're out of the turn and down the backstretch. Matata trying to make every pole winning one, leads the way. Matata by a length. Shadowing Hanover stalking in second. Watching Over Me, third. Rocket to Heaven moving up on the outside. Uncovered to fourth. Followed by Carbohydrate in fifth. Alert Kayla's got some cover. So does More Cheers. After that, an eighth, Katarina Wick. Ninth along the rail, Steady Dare, Eden Eyes. 10th between horses. 126 and 4. Matata gets the jump on him. It's Matata on top by a widening 3. Shadow Lane Hanover in second. Gap of 3 to Watching Over Me. Off the turn, in the stretch. They're on their way home, and Matata is all alone. It's Matata. Shadow Lane Hanover. The only battle is going to be for the show dough in here. Deep stretch. It's Matata. Shadow Lane Hanover second. Here's Carbohydrate up the passing lane for third. Here's the unofficial winner of the fifth, number 7, Matata, 3-year-old Bay Filly by Matt Scooter out of Heritage Marquesa, owned by Arlene Baker of Columbus and Ronald Schiesler of Canfield, giving Jim Arledge Jr. a consecutive training double. Winning driver David Miller here in a lifetime best 155. The unofficial winner 7, Matata. Affect the wagering, 1 Center Ridge Runner, owned by George Howery, driven by Jim Daly. 2 Ellen's Ace has been scratched. 3 Full of Bologna, owned by Alvest Incorporated, Alan Hauk and Guy Miller, driven by David Miller. 4 Carol G, owned by Jack Ader. Kyle Ader will be aboard. Number 5 is Another Thing Coming, owned by Jim Stambaugh. Dallas Miller will be in the bike. 6 is Sage Sabra, owned by Jerome Grogan with Brad Hanners. 7 is Legacy's Terror, owned by Marianne Georges with Chip Noble. Number 8 is Email, owned by Ken Spock. Jody Essig will be in the sulky. Scratch number 2, Ellen's Ace. And there they go. They're off fan pacing. 1 Center Ridge Runner is off stride at the start. Moving out from between horses, Another Thing Coming takes the lead. Followed by Full of Bologna along the rail. Carol G is up on the outside. After that, Sage Sabra. Legacy's Terror. Email tried to leave. She's not going to make the front here tonight. She's been taken all the way back to 6th and far back, and seemingly out of this one is the 1 Center Ridge Runner as they move by the opening quarter-mile pole in 29 and 1. Another Thing Coming leads the way by 2 lengths. Full of Bologna stalking in second, past the stands into third. Comes Carol G racing for Sage Sabra. Legacy's Terror, Email, and Center Ridge Runner in a tepid second quarter. As Another Thing Coming will try to steal one on the front end, and she's doing a pretty good job of it right now. Another Thing Coming a length and a half from Full of Bologna. After that, Carol G. They're at the half-mile pole in 101. Should be plenty left in the tank tonight for the Every Step pace setter. Another Thing Coming. Full of Bologna now on her heels in second. Carol G a closer third. Sage Sabra fourth. Email from the back again. Legacy's Terror and Center Ridge Runners caught the others. Little more than a quarter of a mile apace. Another Thing Coming continues to lead the way. Sage Sabra's up on the outside. Full of Bologna. Here comes Email a closer fourth. Carol G, Legacy's Terror, and Center Ridge Runner 131. Moving around the far turn, Another Thing Coming continues to lead the way. Here's Sage Saber up on the outside. Fullabona eases off the rail, moves to the middle of the racetrack. 3 horses across the track vying for command. Another thing coming. Sage Saber's up on the outside. Sage Saber, another thing coming in Fullabona. Sage Saber now gets the lead. 6, Sage Saber is the unofficial winner. 5, another thing coming second. 3, Fullabona third, and 4, Carol G fourth to the winner's circle. Number 6, Sage Saber, 3-year-old brown filly by Towner's Big Guy out of H.H. Sable. Owned in Cincinnati by Jerome Grogan, trained by Calvin Wright, hard driven by Brad Hanners. To cover the mountain, 158 and 2, 6, Sage Saber, the unofficial winner of the 6th. $6-5 exacta, $58.60, $58.60. 3 out of 3 in the pick 3 on 3, 7, and 6. $779.20. 3 with 7 with 6. $779.20. The trifecta returning $149.60. Windows are now up and on tonight's 7th race. 7th, Miss Baker Lady. Post time in 17 minutes at 9:36. Here's a field for race 7. Exacta trifecta, twin tri-exchange, 1 Bikini Bird. Owned by Doug Parker and Harry Berger. Darren Mauser drives. 2 Sleepless and Sassy, owned by Michael and Leslie Stewart and Don Feaster. 3 Johanna, owned by Bob Griffith with Randy Tharps. 4 Likewise I'm Sure, leased by Rebecca Green, driven by Chip Noble. 5 is Whack Attack, owned by Allison Hensler with Bob Harper. 6 Tucson Princess, owned by Richard Stevens and Sal Nacero with Dave Hawk. 7 is Scratched. 8 Pan's Peanut Butter, owned by Charles Autry with Brad Hanners. 9 Heart of the Matter, owned by the Springhaven Farm. David Miller will be in the sulky. Scratch the 7, post time in less than 6 minutes. Field is now in motion. And there they go. They're off, and pacing Johanna. Between horses takes the lead. Tucson Princess, Whack Attack, Pan's Peanut Butter. They're all out for the lead. Heart of the Matter is going to kick in early on tonight. Bikini Bird is next. Followed by Sleepless and Sassy, and Likewise I'm Sure. And we're off to the rodeo in here. Pretty good clip to the quarter-mile pole from the outside. Tucson Princess gets the lead. Pan's Peanut Butter rides out there second, 27 2/5. Racing past the stands. From the outside, here comes Pan's Peanut Butter to take over command. Pan's Peanut Butter by a length and a half. Tucson Princess second. Whack Attack is into third. Johanna comes to the outside. Heart of the Matter sets sail from mid-pack. Bikini Bird is tipped and rolled. Sleepless and Sassy saving ground in the trailers. Likewise I'm Sure. They're at the half-mile pole. 4 in, 4 out there, hub to hub. Reaching the half-mile pole, Pan's Peanut Butter is there in 57 2. Up the backstretch. Pan's Peanut Butter gliding right along, shows the way. Here's Johanna first up on the outside, taking the favorite with her down the backstretch. After that, Tucson Princess stays the pocket. Whack Attack skimming the pylons in 5th. Bikini Bird is out and moving up on the outside. Likewise I'm Sure, and Sleepless and Sassy. As Heart of the Matter's had enough of cover, she's now moving 3 deep. 3 mares across the track, vying for command in a quick 126 3. Driving around the far turn. Pan's Peanut Butter, Johanna can't go on. Heart of the Matter is still closing. Likewise I'm Sure is 5 deep to the middle of the racetrack. About 3 lengths separates these gals inside the final 16th. Heart of the Matter, Likewise I'm Sure from last to first. On the far outside, Likewise I'm Sure now gets the lead. Heart of the Matter second, number 8 Pan's Peanut Butter third. Here comes the unofficial winner of the 7th race for Likewise I'm Sure. 6-year-old brown mare by Good to See You out of Jesse Zunner. Leased in Cedarville by Rebecca Green, trained by Josh Green, driven tonight by Chip Noble from last to first. To cover the mile here in 1:55 and 4 for Likewise I'm Sure, the winner of tonight's 7th race. Exacta 58.80, try 37, make that $379.60. Twin try 27.88.10. Condition and pace for fillies and mares and for tonight's 8th race as Kathy Hawk brings them to the post. One, She's a Farm Girl, owned by Mark Perrin and David Ram, and the drivers Jody Essing. 2, Rosie Scooter, owned by Richard Stevens and Sal Nacera, driven by David Miller. 3, All Out of Love, owned by Jim Borchers, Bill Walters. Number 4, Double E, owned by Carl Mayberry, Dave Hawk will be aboard. 5, Tucson Bridget, owned by Glenn Bird, Bob Harper will be in the bike. 6, Jory, leased by Jim Daly. Jim Daly will drive. 7 is Hills Warfeather, owned by Tin Cup Tony Ware and Jeff Fout. 8, Money Makin' Bonnie, owned by Johnson Hill Jr. Randy Tharps will be in the sulky. That is the field for tonight's 8th race. Field is now in motion. And there they go. They're off and pacing from between horses. Double E takes the lead. Hills Warfeather charging up on the far outside second. Rosie Scooter between horses. She's a Farm Girl along the rail. Followed by All Out of Love, Tucson Bridget, Jory, and Money Makin' Bonnie. Seating arrangements are complete as they move to the quarter, and Hills Warfeather has grabbed the racetrack. Hills Warfeather from Double E and Rosie Scooter moving by the opening quarter. Hills Warfeather, the 8-5 choice is there, 28 seconds flat. Solid opening quarter as this field of 8 is on gate racing to the half-mile pole. Hills Warfeather leads by 2. Double E second by the same margin. Rosie Scooter is into third. Closer fourth, She's a Farm Girl. Followed by All Out of Love from the back of the pack, Money Makin' Bonnie. Tucson Bridget, the trailer remains Jory. They're at the half-mile pole. Hills Warfeather at a steady pace gets them there in 57 and 2. Up the backstretch. Hills Warfeather bouncing right along. Hills Warfeather a length and a half. Double E second. She's a Farm Girl moves first up on the outside, followed by Rosie Scooter in fourth. All Out of Love out and moving. Live cover to fifth. Tucson Bridget digs down deep. Money Makin' Bonnie ranging up on the outside and Jory. They're into 3/4 and Hills Warfeather under confident handling is there in a fast 126. Around the far turn, Hills Warfeather continues to lead the way. She's a Farm Girl up on the outside, second along the rail, Double E, third as the field straightens away. Under Jeff Fout's high line, Hills Warfeather by 3. She's a Farm Girl is up on the outside, Rosie Scooter along the rail, deep stretch. Hills Warfeather, coast to coast. In the winner's circle is Hills Warfeather, 5-year-old bay mare by Tudor Scooter out of Warpath, Elmhurst. Owned in Dublin by Tony Tin Cup Ware, trained by Virgil Morgan. Winning driver Jeff Fout, tonight's honorary equine maintenance engineer, the pride of Powell, Ohio, Bruce Soulsby. 7-1 exacta returning 1680 in the try, 78.40. No changes in the ninth. Post time in 14 minutes at 10:14. Top down, She's a Farm Girl second, Rosie Scooter third, All Out of Love fifth, Double E fourth. Tucson Bridget sixth, Jory seventh, Hills Warfeather the winner, Money Makin' Bonnie eighth. 2, 3, 5, 4, 6, 7, 1 and 8 in the mile, 154 and 4. Here comes the field for tonight's ninth race. Ohio sired 3-year-olds. Number 1 is Racy Deb, home of the Jones and Hunwick Farm with Chip Noble. Number 2 is Sarah Zelf, owned by Mary Lou McClellan. Driver is Ryan Holton. 3, Marie Claire, owned by Tom Tharps. Randy Tharps drives. 4, Gypsy Return, owned by Jeff Cox and Walter Shepner and David Miller. 5, Taryn My Love, owned by Don Huddleston with Mike Wilder. 6 is Our Miss Delaware, owned by H.J. Scott and Walter D. Townsend II with David Myers. 7, Touch of Bogart, owned by Ronald Breechler with Del S. Miller. And number 8 is Shallow BB, owned by Robert Bendel. Roger Hammer will be in the sulky. 5 minutes till post time. Field is now in motion. And there they go. They're off and pacing. Marie Claire between horses takes the lead. Taryn My Love. Here's Shallow BB with a rush on the far outside. They're down the backstretch. Racy Deb moves in to be fourth, followed by Gypsy Return. After that comes Sarah Zelf. Our Miss Delaware and Touch of Bogart will come from the back tonight. And the afterburners are already on as they drive to the quarter-mile pole, and Taryn My Love has the top spot. Shallow BB tucked in there second. Sprightly 27-4 for the opening quarter. They're in parade moving past the stands. Taryn My Love leads the way by an easy length and a half. Shallow BB is in the second. Marie Claire third. Here comes Gypsy Return on the outside of Racy Deb. Sarah Zelf has set sail from the back. Our Miss Delaware and Touch of Bogart. 4 in, 4 out, around the paddock turn to the half-mile pole. Taryn My Love continues to lead. Shallow BB in second. Gypsy Return still floating out there uncovered from third. After that, Marie Claire in 58-3. They're out of the turn and down the backstretch. Still in command, and she's been there every step of the way. Taryn My Love. Shallow BB on her heels in second. Gypsy Return still grinding third. Ranging up on the outside, Sarah Zelf coming on fourth, followed by Marie Claire. Along the rail, Racy Deb on the outside. Our Miss Delaware and Touch of Bogart in a quick 127 around the far turn. Taryn My Love continues to lead the way. Gypsy Return better pick it up from here. Coming wide off cover, Sarah Zelf fighting back Shallow BB. Little more than a 16th the pace, and Mike Wilder is all over the pace setter, Taryn My Love. Taryn My Love, the passing lane for Marie Claire. Far outside, Our Miss Delaware. Taryn My Love could hold on. The unofficial winner of race number 9, 5, Taryn My Love. 3-year-old Bay Filly by B.J. Scoot out of Radiate. Owned in Chillicothe by Don Huddleston. Trained by Jerry Kutchback. Driven wire to wire by Mike Wilder, covering the mile in 155 and 2 in a lifetime best. Number 5, Taryn My Love, the unofficial winner. 2, Sarah Zelf was third, and number 3, Marie Claire, was fourth. Windows are now open on race 10. Featured pace of the night, Tompkin Gears for 3-year-old fillies. 37,300, sponsored by Pepsi-Cola Bottling of Columbus. Here comes the field for tonight's 10th race. Tompkin Gear Stakes for 3-year-old pacing fillies in the purse, 37,300. Sponsored by Pepsi-Cola Bottling Company of Columbus, One Gleam in a Ride. Owned by Michael and Josephine Campbell. Bob Harper drives. 2 is Sassy, owned by Bruce Trogdon and C.Ed Mullinax with Dave Hawk. 3, Polished Satin, owned by Edward and Dorothy Gear, and the driver is Del S. Miller. Number 4, Hollywood Madam, owned by Bruz Noble. Chip Noble will drive. 5, Jason A's Bud Light, owned by Terry Gillen with David Miller. 6, Bunny Webbit, owned by Richard Shively and Elliot Deaton. 7, Cafe Uccino, owned and driven by Roger Hammer. 8 is Miss Chris the Q, owned by Alan Quinn. Jeff Fout brings her out of post 6. Post 8. 6 minutes till post times. Field 4, race 10 is at the gate and moving up. Field of 8 to go here for $37,300 in the Tompkin Gears 3-year-old filly Pace. Gleam in her eye. Number 2, Sassy. 3 is the odds-on favorite right now, Polished Satin. 4, Hollywood Madam. 5, G-Sine's Bud Light. 6, Bunny Webbit. 7, Cafe Uchino. And number 8, Chris the Q. Horses and drivers are now in the hands of the starter, Andy Albert. It is post time. Field is now in motion. And there they go. They're off, and pacing. Sassy between horses takes the lead. Gleam in her eye along the rail. Polished Satin's going to come from off the pace tonight. Here's G-Sine's Bud Light driving up on the outside. Cafe Uchino on the far outside as they move midway on the turn. After that comes Hollywood Madam. 2 more lengths to their own, Bunny Webbit, and at the end the big filly, Miss Chris the Q, as they move to the quarter-mile pole, and Polished Satin last to clear, opens up here in a sharp 27 1/5. Racing to the half-mile pole, Polished Satin bouncing along at 1 2 a nickel. G-Sine's Bud Light prompting in second, Sassy skimming the rail third. Gleam in her eye fourth, Cafe Uchino fifth. Hollywood Madam 6, Bunny Webbit is 7th, 8th up on the outside, Miss Chris the Q. No change at the half-mile pole. The Miller boys are 1-2. Del S with Polished Satin, David with G-Sine's Bud Light. 55-4 up the backstretch. Polished Satin continues to lead the way. First to flush, coming with a rush. Here's Gleam in her eye up on the outside. Second, nowhere to go, at least for now. That's G-Sine's Bud Light. Cafe Uchino being taken along. Nearest the rail, Sassy is in the 5th. Next 3 are all lengths apart as they move to 3/4. Hollywood Madam, Bunny Webbit, and Miss Chris the Q in 125. Around the far turn, Gleam in her eye drops back. Back on top, it's Polished Satin. Easing off the rail, G-Sine's Bud Light. Ranging up on the far outside, Cafe Uchino. Little more than a 16th to go. Polished Satin brings them on home. G-Sine's Bud Light on the outside's got her. G-Sine's Bud Light, Polished Satin second. Tight between Cafe Uchino and Sassy for the Scioto, 153-2. Here comes the unofficial winner of tonight's 10th race, number 5, G-Sine's Bud Light. G-Sine's Bud Light is a 3-year-old bay filly by Falcon Elmhurst out of Weather. Owned in Maston, Ohio by Terry Gillen. Trained by Jeff Cox. Given a well-judged drive by David Miller to cover the mile here in 153-2. Take a lifetime best. Number 5, G-Sine's Bud Light, the unofficial winner of tonight's 10th race. Representing our friends from Pepsi-Cola Bottling Company of Columbus in the winner's circle are Mary and Jerry Morrow, Kim and Dave Kivamaki, Pam and Jim Dean, Sloan and Christy Hurl. Big welcome to our sponsors tonight from Pepsi-Cola. Result of tonight's 10th race is now official. Windows are open on race 11. Bobby Harper driving 4 after the Cowboy. 5-3 exact at $22.20. $22.20. Here comes the field for race 11. Start of the final pick 3. 1 Bear Trap, owned by Terry Green, driven by Darren Mauser. 2 The Fraud Broad, owned by Chris Ross and Jeff Fout. 3 Bonnie Bear Babe, owned by William Spangler and Dave Hawk. 4 After the Cowboy, owned by Robert Boggs. Driver change to Bob Harper. 5 Daddy's Little Pro, owned by Ramon Perez with Mark Klotz. 6 First Country Star, owned by the Star Country Stable with Art Jones. 7 CL Halley, owned by Gene Short and Jack Gooding with Jim Daly. 8 is Queen of Tucson, owned by Janice Stryker with Chip Noble. 9 Josephine, owned by Bob Griffith with Randy Tharps. 10 Kelsey's Tucson, owned by Ken Summer. David Miller will be in the sulky. 5 minutes till post time. It's underway. And there they go. They're off and pacing with a rush between horses. Daddy's Little Pro takes the lead. Here comes After the Cowboy on the Fraud Broad. Ranging up on the far outside, First Country Star. Bear Trap gets away a bit tardy to fifth out of the second tier. Kelsey's Tucson, Bonnie Bear Babe, CL Halley on the outside. Queen of Tucson and Josephine as the field drives to the quarter-mile pole. Daddy's Little Pro out on top in a quick 27 1/5. Speeding past the stands, Daddy's Little Pro opens up about 5-6 lengths of daylight. Cutting her own mile in second after the Cowboy. The Fraud Broad is third. First Country Star fourth. Next is Bear Trap. Followed by Kelsey's Tucson. Bonnie Bear Babe is seventh. CL Halley, Queen of Tucson. And at the end, the trailer remains Josephine. At the half-mile pole, here comes the Fraud Broad after Daddy's Little Girl, 56 2. Up the backstretch. Daddy's Little Pro continues to lead the way. Daddy's Little Pro on top by 2. The Fraud Broad is in the second. First Country Star will have to do the dirty work from now on third. Followed by After the Cowboy, who can't go on fourth. Here's Bear Trap up on the outside. Underway from the back, Bonnie Bear Babe, Kelsey's Tucson. Toward the rail, Queen of Tucson on the far outside. Comes CL Halley, dropping further back out of it, Josephine in a quick 125 3. Driving up on the outside, First Country Star gets the lead. First Country Star opens up 4. First Country Star brings them on home. Moving up from between horses, Bear Trap on the far outside, Bonnie Bear Babe, extreme outside, CL Halley, First Country Star. CL Halley is First Country Star. CL Halley tight for third between the Fraud Broad and Queen of Tucson. Here comes the unofficial winner of race number 11, number 6, First Country Star. 3-year-old bay filly by Look Sharp out of Oh Lucky Style. Owned in Frankfort, Ohio by the Star Country Stable, driven and trained by Art Jones. Covering a mile here in 1:56 2 and a lifetime best for 6, First Country Star, the winner of tonight's 11th race. Trifecta wagering number 1 is Mitzi Soda. Owned by Asum Paysum Stables, Virgil Morgan Jr. and Quick Trick Stable with David Miller. 2, Sunny Sally, owned by Ira Kreitzer with Jeff Fout. 3, JD's Dancer, owned by Robert Dalrymple with Brad Hanners. 4, Touch of Summer, owned and driven by Tom Lovely. Number 5, Better Laugh, owned by Jerry Hawes and a driver change to Mike Welder. 6, Amy Q, owned by Randy Owens, Kim Owens, Michael U. Wren, and Ross Chambers with Chip Noble. 7 is Car Trouble, owned by Robert Inman, Frank Conzier, and Fred Baker with a driver change to Roger Hammer. Number 8, Pocket Edition, owned by Steve Chris with Brett Miller. And number 9, Madeline's Magic, owned by Brent Davis. Dave Hawk will be in the sulky. 6 minutes till post time exact and trifecta wagering. Field is now in motion. And there they go. They're off and pacing. Sunny Sally and Mitzi Soda kick out for the lead. Car Trouble with a rush on the far outside. Quickly on the rail, JD's Dancer moves in to be fourth, followed by Amy Q. Wide and driving, Madeline's Magic on the extreme outside. Touch of Summer. After that comes Better Laugh, and the trailer is Pocket Edition. As the first 4 are hub to hub and scrambling for the lead of the quarter-mile pole. Mitzi Soda going to go right down the highway tonight in 27 2. Racing past the stands, Mitzi Soda leads the way. JD's Dancer is in the second. Going to be a long mile tonight for Sunny Sally, who finally gets back to the rail in third. Car Trouble right back out after he let her in onto the finish line the first time. Here's Madeline's Magic being taken along by Car Trouble. After that, Amy Q as they hit the half-mile pole. Up top, it's still Mitzi Soda, a length and a half. JD's Dancer, second, the same margin. Still on the outside, Car Trouble, third, parked every step, Madeline's Magic. Sunny Sally, here's Better Laugh on the outside of Amy Q. Moving from the back of the pack, Pocket Edition, and at the end it's Touch of Summer. 58 flat there down the backstretch. 1-2 favorite continues to lead. Mitzi Soda, here's Madeline's Magic. Power Surge on the far outside. Moving widest of all, Better Left. As they move into 3/4, Madeline's Magic on the outside of Mitzi Soda in 127-3. Moving around the far turn. Madeline's Magic by a half a length. Mitzi Soda fighting back. Here comes Pocket Edition, sweeping to command on the far outside. Pocket Edition from last to first. In between horses, Madeline's Magic second. Middle of the racetrack, Better Left. Mitzi Soda gives way. Up the pylons, JD's Dancer. It's Pocket Edition pacing away. JD's Dancer tight between 5. Better Laugh and Madeline's Magic. Winner of tonight's 12th race, 8, Pocket Edition. 5-year-old bay mare by Troublemaker out of Editor's Choice. Owned and traded in Hilliard by Steve Christ. Hard driven tonight by Brett Miller to cover the mount. A lifetime best 156-2. 8, Pocket Edition, the unofficial winner of the 12th. 3, JD's Dancer. 5, Better Laugh. And 9, Madeline's Magic. Led to the post by Kathy Hawk, 1, Fame's Fortune. Owned by Pamela Hanauer. Lori Hanauer drives. Number 2 is My Sweet Heather. Owned by Al Studdy, and the driver is Mike Wilder. 3, Mezzo, owned by Glenn Congrove and Cecil Clemens, and the driver is Tom Clemens. 4, Lady Nuclear, owned by LMN Bread Stables. Brad Hanners will be aboard. Number 5 is Tala, owned by Richard Morrison, a driver change to Chip Noble. 6, NH Dunn, owned by Paul Johnson, Justin Hall. Number 7 is Buffy Hanover, owned by Lori Rardin with Jeff Fout. Number 8, Sharp Lookin' Filly, owned by Catherine Wolfinger, driven by David Miller. 9, Call Me Sweets, owned by Robert Reynolds, the driver is Darren Mauser. 10, Lady Storm, owned by Randy White. Dave Hawk will be in the sulky. 6 minutes till post time. Field is now in motion. And there they go. They're off and pacing. My Sweet Heather between horses takes the lead. Sharp Looking Filly rolls up on the outside. Fame's Fortune on the rail, and Lady Nuclear. Here's Lady Storm behind this dueling quartet to 5th. The gray Mezzo moves into V6, racing 7, Tala. Midway on the turn, NH Dunn up on the outside. Call Me Sweets, and at the end it's Buffy Hanover. As they drive to the quarter-mile pole, My Sweet Heather and Lady Nuclear slug this one out in a solid opening quarter. 28 seconds flat, moving past the stands to the half. Lady Nuclear on the outside, brushes to the front. My Sweet Heather has jumped off stride in the pocket, but quickly settles down. After that, Fame's Fortune into 3rd. Racing 4, Sharp Looking Filly. Here's Lady Storm coming to the outside, and Mezzo moves with her. After that comes Tala, ranging up on the outside. As they hit the half-mile pole, Buffy Hanover, 9th on the rail, Call Me Sweets. NH Dunn is 10th and 58. They're out of that page turn and straightening out down the backstretch. Still in command of the field, Lady Nuclear. My Sweet Heather is in the 2nd. Lady Storm up on the outside, making a little impact from 3rd. Fame's Fortune, the gray Mezzo on the outside. Sharp Looking Filly buried along the pylons. Driving up on the far outside, Buffy Hanover. Here comes NH Dunn. Tala is now 9th, 10th on the outside. Call Me Sweets in 128-1. Moving around the far turn, Lady Nuclear gets away. Lady Nuclear on top. Lori Hanover now shakes free with Fame's Fortune as the field straightens away. Lady Nuclear brings them on home with a 6-length lead. Rolling up on the outside, Fame's Fortune, Sharp Looking Filly. Here's the 5, Tala. Where is the finish line for Lady Nuclear? It's Lady Nuclear jumping off stride. That was the 8 sharp looking filly. Please hold all tickets. And please hold all tickets. Here's a double for Brad Hanners aboard the 4 Lady Nuclear. 4-year-old brown mare by Nuclear Siren out of Falcon's Treasure. Owned by LMN Bred Stables of Mount Sterling. Trained by Mitchell Null. Driven by Brad Hanners. Covering a mount 158 in the lifetime best for Lady Nuclear, the unofficial winner. Pick 3, $73.60.